don't wrap that around.
Hi, hope you guys are all having a good day. So I just did like this whole video like with detailed explanation of unschooling or child-led schooling, and I had it in 3 parts because I was interrupted or distracted or whatever was going on. Baby needed mama basically. And it all will not fit together as one video, which I was trying to like, I've been using this Chip Champ or something like that, and I cannot get it to work. So what I'm going to do is try to give you the cliff notes of it because this was a requested video. And so I'm going to try to give you the cliff notes of this. So what is unschooling? I have no clue. I really do not know where they get the terms of anything. Does it mean that they don't have schooling? Yes and no. I think that schooling is just a word. I think that children are born learning how to learn. So, an infant, they learn how to crawl, they learn how to walk. Nobody needs to teach them how to do that. They might have to be given the ability to be able to lay on their tummy so they can develop those muscles in order to crawl. They may need to be given the confidence in order to be able to walk. So we just have this philosophy that children are born learning, like they are ready. They are born ready. God created innately in them to learn. So, starting from the beginning, we believe that children are learners. We as humans, individuals, are learners. So, unschooling, I guess, is just not schooling, but it's not really not learning. It's definitely learning. It's learning in different ways. Okay, so different ways that we can learn is just living throughout life. So in our household, and I want to say, just kind of preface this real quickly, even though I'm doing like a shortened version of it, um, that this is what works for our family, and every individual has to do what works for their family at those moments in their life that it works for their family. So, if you are full curriculum, then that's like your choice. God gave you those children, He gave you those children on purpose, and do what you do to the best of your ability. Over the years, we have learned that that is not the best style for our household and our homeschool. So, we like to live a lifestyle that promotes self sufficiency, one that allows our children to explore, experiment, and learn. So that is like our goal is we want to live our lives, our whole lives, where children are learning. So I believe homesteading is a great way to do that. They can learn how to grow their own food to sustain their needs. I think that living near land that you can go hunt and where you could fish or all that type of stuff, teaching those self-sufficient type skills are key to our homeschooling. I think, learning how to sew and knit and crochet and all those types of things are all learning. I do not think that sewing is less important than math. I do not think that sewing is more important than math. I think that they're both important. I think that we need to learn them on the basis that we need to learn them. Lots of times in school, kids are taught, trigonometry, but they're not taught how to balance a checkbook. Well, we bring it down to, the steps that you need for actually living, and then depending on what they're choosing, allow them to choose. Once they turn into high school ages, then they're allowed to choose 100% of their own curriculum if they want to choose a curriculum. If not, then they just need to give account of what they are choosing to do in order to make goals for themselves in their lives. If it's for college, then we figure out what needs to happen in order to get to that college. If it's for homemaking, then we need to figure out what they need for homemaking. If it's for a career, then we figure out what they need for a career. So we just want to try to raise adults. I mean, you're raising younger people, nurturing them, cherishing them until it's time for them to become an adult, and then they're out on their own. And we have to teach them how to be out on their own and not just um, have them with no goals or desires. Now, even the children here who are planning on like their ultimate goal, they just want to like settle down and get married or whatever. There's still a lot of skills that somebody who's going to settle down and get married will need, and it doesn't mean that that person is not allowed to have different hobbies or skills or, whatever. So we want to like encourage all those different things as well. Okay, so different ways that we can help in unschooling is allowing ourselves and our children to be a DIY person. So if something breaks, we learn how to fix it, and we learn how to build, and we learn how to create. Um, that goes for everything: plumbing, electrical, flooring, building a shelf, anything like that. Like, it's like we want to learn together how to do it. If something comes in the mail and needs to get built this morning, a chainsaw needed to get built. Dad was all excited about it, so he wanted to build a chainsaw. But there was numerous people standing over him, like, "Oh, that's so cool," and all excited about it. Um, so yeah, so learning how to do whatever you want yourself. I did write myself a little list because if not, I would just get into rambling. I can't do that. Let's see. So we can encourage our children by teaching skills that you know, as well as learning skills with them. If you do not know the answer, then help them to find that answer. Also, learning skills with children lets them see that if you fail, it's okay. Everyone is going to fail. Somebody is going to burn a cookie. Somebody is going to, you know, put a door on backwards or upside down or whatever it is. Like, you're going to fail, and for you, your reaction to your failure is important for your children to see as well. Like, oh man, like I failed, but let me pick up and do it again. Let me figure out how this would work. And being open to be like, simple things. Last night, I was trying to figure out how to. We have kind of two babies in our room, and I was trying to figure out how to rearrange things. And I thought of one thing, and it didn't work that way. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to turn it around the other way. And a child said, well, not even a child, a young adult that I have in the house was like, well, what if you did this? And I was like, maybe that would work. And it was perfect. It worked out great. Like, we need to be teachable. If our children learn a new recipe and we really like it, then let your child teach you or other children. Let's see. So I encourage my kids to get messy with crafts and stuff. I do not have like a policy as far as like no painting, no cutting, no glue, all these things that people are like, oh, it's going to make a mess. Okay, it's going to make a mess. Everyone cleans up the mess. Do you like my list? It's on like an old envelope. Okay. So as far as field trips go, they happen lots of different ways. They sometimes people will mention different things. We might be studying about something. We can ask them where they want to go. Museums are always good. Outdoor activities are always good. You can look into forest or nature schools. Charlotte Mason talks a lot about that. So does Waldorf. Um, Montessori, like all those things kind of talk about outside things as well as allowing your children to do things. So one aspect of this is being outside, being in nature, getting your vitamin D, allowing them to create, build forts, all these types of things, along with survival skills, building shelters or, hunting, trapping, fishing, all those things, all survival type skills are all good for children to learn. But then at the same time, allowing them to do that. My children, I allow to use things like knives and hatchets and axes and all these things. I trust that if they're wanting to learn, then I can teach them. And if they're doing it the way that I'm asking them to do it, then I allow them to continue to do that. And then by that, then they have that skill. That's a big Montessori type thing. And I allow them to do that. I do believe that children need guidelines. So I was listening actually to a woman who was talking about unschooling, where she said she allows her children to, pick whatever foods they want or to watch whatever type of TV that they want or videos or anything like that. But I believe that our children are like a seed and they're planted and they can do certain things at certain times. So with all those things, as far as them wanting to try something, I'm okay as long as for me it seems like it's something that they can do safely. if and it might not be a certain age, if one child can use a knife at 5 and they're very safe and they know how to cut things at 5 with that, a good thing to start is like a knife and a banana, like a butter knife and a banana. Um, and they know how to do it safely, then we can move up from there. If they can't do it safely and they start to play around and, sword fight with the knife, then obviously they're not ready for that. We can learn so much from forests and nature. So we bring our kids to different things like forests and mountains and oceans and different environments, and we let them see different animals from all types of environments, um, and their habitats. And we let them pick up frogs and bugs and whatever they want to do in order to learn about those animals. We let our kids learn how to build fires and make slingshots and trap and hunt animals. But we would not allow them to do that to waste the animal. That animal will be, if they got a squirrel with a BB gun, then we're eating that squirrel with a BB gun. Imaginative play, allowing your children like that free time just to be able to use their imagination and to create and to play, is great. Let's see. Field trips, I spoke a little bit about it, but you can pretty much choose any place you want to. I, years ago, listened to somebody say that pretend that your area and your environment, pretend you were a tourist in your area, and then pick places that you would want to see. And I started there. And it was like, oh, if I was doing whatever, I would start here and I would have fun here. And this is a good outside thing. And this is free. And this is whatever like your budget can allow. We also prioritize hands-on learning. So we as a family do not often, like all of us, go to a restaurant and eat, which I know a lot of families do that, and that's what works with their family. We would rather take our kids someplace. So if we were to spend $150 on a meal, which is about what it would cost if we sat down and ate at just like a normal like mom and pop diner, um, if we were to spend that money there, or if we were to spend that money to have an experience, we would choose the experience like 100 times over. So like if it was $150, I could buy a year-round children's pass to the museum for $150, and we could experience over and over again. Anytime it was a rainy day and we were in the city, we could go to the children's museum and they could learn new things each time. Also going to, if you go to a thrift store or something, sometimes just allowing your kids to pick up one of those, they see something, they're like, oh, this is kind of cool, and just allowing them to experience with that. It could be something like, one of those like sciencey type kits, or it could be, a book about building this or building that, let them experiment, let them have some wood and some nails, and just learn and become their own person. Reading aloud. I think reading aloud is really important. If you don't have time to read aloud to your kids, or you think you don't have time to read aloud to your kids, I would definitely reprioritize. Because there's so much in that beyond just the book, but they can learn and so many things by reading aloud. So if we're doing like a read aloud, say it was about the Civil War, later on the kids might be more intrigued to get books about the Civil War, and then they want to like dive into that more, or maybe watch videos about the Civil War. We also use media for educational purposes, so using a television or YouTube or anything like that for educational purposes is great. They can learn different things, how to spin wool, how to butcher, whatever, whatever can be learned on these things, as well as you can choose like documentaries that go back in time. For instance, like Wartime Farm. Ruth Goodman and Peter Lang, I think it is, and a couple other people do a whole series of different time periods over in Britain. The 1940s house is really good. 1900s Islands was good. We're working through Snowdonia right now. That's on Amazon Prime. So we have Amazon Prime, and then we also have YouTube. So yeah, just using those resources mainly for educational purposes, then your kids will be hey, what's that, or who is that, and also learning about different missionaries and different people that walked with God throughout their life. So we had a bunch of books in our library, and I told the kids at the beginning of the year, pick a book from the shelf, and we'll read that aloud this year. And everyone picked a book. So right now I was asked actually how I choose what we're going to be working on. It really depends. It could be like some people are discussing something. It could be like on a whim. Little House on the Prairie had come up someplace, and I was like, oh, I hadn't read that in a while. So we read a couple books last year, and then I picked that back up and started reading this other book, the next book in the series, so the third book in the series. So I started reading that. We also are hoping to make a trip to Colonial Williamsburg come spring, and so we're trying to do some things around that, which will be fun. So, like this month, we did, let's see, My Brother Sam is Dead, Woods Runner, and George Washington's Spy. We're almost done with. We have like 2 more chapters. Although all those audiobooks were on YouTube if you wanted to listen to those. And then I just got picked up yesterday an order with some things from Jamestown and other things like that. So we'll just work it like that. And if something doesn't work, if you start reading a book and it seems like really dry and nobody's engaged, then find a new book on the subject. There's so many books on one subject. You can find something that is going to be exciting for your kids. Okay. So, how I document this, every state is different, but remember, schooling is learning. If you like kind of think that in your brain. So, if you are required 4 hours a day of schooling, it's really 4 hours a day of learning. If you're required 175 days of learning, then you need to learn. So like in our state we have to do some sort of main studies. So I usually make sure that there is some sort of main type field trip, and if we can get main books, that would be great. So here is how it is here. So I have our read alouds. So besides those 3 that I mentioned before, we did I Survived Fire. So I write down what we do for actual, like, who read to me on what day. So like on here it'd be who read that day. That would be from their actual curriculum. And then I write down places that we've gone. So this month we've gone to the Coast Guard station. We've gone to St. Croix Island. Then we actually we went to the library, and they had an interview with the National Park Service talking specifically on St. Croix Island. And he read a book out of like this really old, like diaries from Samuel de la Champlain. And so that was really interesting. We were reading a book or watching something, and they were talking about fire jumpers, so we ended up watching a movie about fire jumpers too. But okay, so we went there, and then we went to the Children's Museum. We went to Bangor Library twice. And then we went to a cabin that's like off grid, and we did that for 2 days. So those are the places that we went for in October. Things we did was different types of canning of various different things. We did apple cider press. We did gardening. We did clearing the woods to make pasture. We did, butchering, both cow, pig, and chickens. Different cooking things for kids to learn how to cook new things. We made applesauce. Yep, I think that's it for this month. So I just write all that type of stuff down, so that we have a document of everything that we're doing. Make sure you talk to your local person, that your teacher, I don't know, every state is different, but we have to have a portfolio review. And so the woman that does my portfolio review, she does a really good job. She is actually on my Facebook, so she gets to see the pictures and stuff that I have on Facebook from like our experiences. But she also, before I started doing that, I used to make a photo book through Snapfish and just like collect a bunch of pictures and then send that in with the portfolio. So just talk to your personal person and ask them, how do you want me to document this? this is what we're doing. We've decided to homeschool like in this way. I prefer to say it's child-led homeschooling instead of unschooling, because unschooling seems like you're doing nothing. And I have seen on media, social media or whatever, where unschooling is, to them, people have claimed like unschooling, and I think that a lot of it, I'm trying to like watch my words, but it can kind of get into like lazy parenting. But it's not that. It's allowing your children to make some decisions about their education, as well as giving them opportunities that might not necessarily be from a textbook. And it looks different in every family, but that's how it looks in our family. We really focus on outside activities as a family. We also focus a lot on like read alouds or audiobooks, and learning how to live like a self-sufficient life. So it really just depends on where you're at, what season you're in, but pray about it and ask God where he wants you. I know that before I was so consumed in curriculum that, and getting it done by a certain time, or not being able to do A, B, C, and D because we had to do school, that I was actually missing out on a lot. I was missing out on a lot as a mom. I was also missing out on a lot as a homeschooler, because there's so many opportunities as a homeschooler that you don't realize if you're just stuck behind a book, and stuck behind a book that's really not interesting. Or most curriculum is not written to be like an engaging story, and you can learn the same things with an engaging story that your kids are going to like love and have joy for, and they're going to want to make projects and crafts, and they're going to want to get out the modeling clay and do these models of this war scene or whatever it might be. And there's so many other ways to learn the same information, and it will engage them, and they'll remember it, and they'll have those memories for the rest of their life. So I hope this blesses you, and I will talk again to you soon.